About the Western pleasure class at horse shows. The Western pleasure class is really looking for a horse who's a pleasure to ride. It's judged on performance, manners, conformation, substance, and quality. Ultimately, the judge is looking for the horse who's the smoothest, is happy to go around the ring, and is easy to ride. Part of what the judge is looking for as well is condition of the horse. So the horse should be fit to do the work that it is asked to do. Here we're actually going to watch a little video of a Western pleasure class. So this is the 2021 World Show, and we're going to watch this particular horse because it's a horse that wins the class, and we're going to talk about a little what happens in the class. So horses will walk, jog, moderate extension of the jog, lope, reverse, and do the same thing the other way. A horse may be asked to back as well. So these horses are 6 and over, and all the riders you can see are one-handed. You can notice that their arms are hanging by their sides, which is pretty standard for a Western pleasure class. You can see that they're wearing a cowboy hat, a Western shirt, chaps, jeans underneath, and cowboy boots. Gloves and spurs are optional for this class. So here they're asking for a moderate extension of the jog. They jogged first, and then they're looking for a moderate extension. So they are looking for a change of pace. The horse didn't get quick, though. It's not that he just got faster. The actual length of the stride is changing. While you're watching these horses jog around, I want you to watch and see if they have even diagonal legs moving. So we want to see the inside front and the outside hind moving at the same time. That comes where we look at our quality of the gait and if they're consistent all around the pen. Here in a second, they're going to ask them to come back to a normal jog. You'll see this horse slow down a little bit. And then the next gait that they'll ask them for after that is the lope. So this is a pretty big class. It's a pretty large arena. And all the judges have to be able to see each exhibitor. So they do have to go around a few times. You can see some horses are slow. Let's look at the bay here. Can we see these diagonal legs moving at the same time? Yes, we can. So you can see the bay there with the rider with the purple shirt. The horse doesn't have its ears quite as forward. It's kind of happy to go around and do its job, but it doesn't look bright. Not quite as bright as the one here in the silver. Number 269. And they've asked for the normal jog again. Also note where those numbers are placed, because as an exhibitor, you are required to have a number and a correct number for the horse that you are riding. The number is generally assigned to the horse. Now, if you look at this chestnut that's just over here to the right, you can see that his legs are not moving quite together. So that's a quality of the jog. And they're going to jog around for a few moments again, and then they're going to ask for the lope. So you can, here's that chestnut again. Their diagonal legs are not moving quite at the same time, and the horse isn't quite as consistent. So that's still a really good jog, or good, what we would say, but the horse to the inside, 269, is a very good jog. That's the difference. You can even see the kind of the more alertness in the horse's head and neck. You can see that the horse is not behind the vertical or in front of the vertical, just casually hanging its head, nice and relaxed. We're also looking for the quality of the jog, nice swinging back and rhythmical. And this particular chestnut has been very consistent through the pen. He doesn't go fast, he doesn't go slow, he just stays the same pace. So now that we're here in the lope, you can see that this horse is just a little uneven in the gait, but we're, working on getting a 3-beat gait there. It's important that the lope is still a 3-beat gait, but also very consistent and requires very little direction from the rider. So you'll notice that these horses are loping pretty slow, and that's where we get into the degree of difficulty, maintaining that 3-beat lope by still going slow. So if you watch this bay kind of trying to pass on the inside, is a very nice gait, very correct, but the horse's head is a lot more movement. It's not quite as together as the chestnut that we're looking at. So still good from the bay, but not very good like the chestnut. So once the riders are finished loping, they will be asked to walk and then they will reverse. And we're going to talk about that in a few moments. So I kind of talked about how it was judged and what things we'd be looking for in the horses that we saw go around there. But we basically have to start with a list, And the first thing on that list is the gaits have to be correct. So 2-beat jog, 3-beat lope, 4-beat walk. Then we're looking at the quality of those gaits. So some things that have to do with quality are, the diagonal pairs of the legs that we talked about. And then we talk about degree of difficulty, less input from the rider, slower pace. And some horses, when they work on the degree of difficulty, they affect the quality. And a horse who can, do all 3 of those things is usually the winner in the class. So for correctness, we talked about 4-beat walk, 2-beat jog, actually having a change of pace in the stride of the extended jog and the lope. So correctness is, that the horse has actually got a 3-beat lope. So then when we get to quality, we're looking at horses relaxed, happy to be in the pen, right, carrying himself instead of pulling, his body along with his front legs, and his back legs are kind of just dragging behind, and consistent. So consistent in wherever he is in the pen, the gait is the same pace. Next, like we talked about, degree of difficulty, the slower pace, little interference from the rider. If you were in like a trail class, degree of difficulty would be making a tighter turn or going to the inside of the poles or doing the obstacle with less steps. It's a little harder to get degree of difficulty in the pleasure class, but these are a couple of things you can do. So then the question is, what can you do as a rider? You want to make your horse look easy to ride. So smiling is like the super easiest thing to do. Yeah, your horse is so much fun to ride. Thinking about your rhythm, because you have to have your correctness first. And being balanced so that your horse can stay relaxed. Those are a few of the things that you can do as a rider to help your horse in this class. With any class, there are penalties. When the head is carried too low, what they are looking for is that the pole is level with the withers. Also, the opposite applies if the head is carried too high, and that's generally, a horse is trying to run away with you a little bit. They've got their head up, they're looking around. We want a horse who is focused and who is maintaining the gaits. Earlier, I talked a little bit about being on the vertical, and this is where this penalty comes in. So if the horse has his nose stuck excessively out, that is a penalty. And the opposite is true. Overflexing or bringing the nose too close to the chest and being behind the vertical is also a penalty. What they are looking for is that nose to be just slightly in front of the vertical. Any excessive speed. So it's not that you have to be as slow as these riders, because these are upper level riders, but what you do need to be is not super speedy. If you've almost run over the judge or lapped some horses in the ring, you can assume you're going to get an excessive speed penalty. Again, the opposite applies, loss of forward momentum. And we see this a little bit more in the higher levels where they're trying to get the degree of difficulty in by slowing the gait down, but then they lose forward and they either don't have a correct rhythm in the stride or they break gait. Being on the wrong lead. So if you pick up the lope, your horse is on the outside lead, that's a penalty. Breaking gait. So if you're supposed to be loping and instead you're jogging, and then you have to ask your horse to lope again, that would be a break of gait. Obviously not being able to get the correct gait. So an example would be your horse is asked to lope and instead your horse jogs off. Now, if your horse took 3/4 the lap of the ring to get the lope because you had to set them up, that would also be penalized. Touching the horse or saddle with your free hand. This is kind of a rule in a lot of different classes and disciplines, and usually what I'll do is I'll just tell everybody to not touch their horse with their free hand. Sometimes what happens is the judge then has to decide, and this is why they have the rule, if you do touch your horse, are you petting your horse or are you hitting your horse? And then we leave that decision with the judge on whether that was abuse or not abuse. And the easiest thing is just not to leave that open for interpretation. Just don't do it. And when you're in the pen, when you get out, you want to pet your horse, great. Opening the mouth excessively. So generally a horse who's doing that is evading the bit, is not broke to the bridle, and that's why it's a penalty. So what should you wear? So we talked about what they were wearing in the show pen. Cowboy hat or a helmet is also acceptable. They are not supposed to penalize you for wearing a helmet. Jeans, a Western style shirt, generally tucked in. We aren't penalizing workmanlike attire, like a rider who's riding around with a bunch of crystals on her shirt is not supposed to score more just because she's riding in that shirt. Nice and tidy, though, is the key. Matching clothes, properly fitted clothes, those are all things that make it look nice and tidy. I recommend a belt with your jeans, and gloves, chaps, and spurs are optional. So ways that you can get eliminated. If you've got any help by your coach on the outside of the ring, via headset or via the side of the ring, you are supposed to be eliminated. If you're striking, touching your horse in front of the cinch with your reins, your hands, your legs, elimination. Failure to wear the correct number, because we can't place you if you do not have a number. Excessive schooling or training. So we see that actually at the lower levels with higher level riders. So instead of going in and riding the class like they should be, they go in and their really purpose is just to school their horse. So they tend to stop when the rest of the ride is, loping, if they've had a mistake, or they're kind of just getting in the way, and that's why we eliminate riders like that. So illegal use of hands on the reins. So that could be when you're supposed to be riding one-handed and then you take 2 reins, eliminated. Supposed to be riding two-handed and then you put them in one hand, eliminated. Switching hands, eliminated. If you go to shorten your reins with your free hand, eliminated. There are some exceptions to the rule. If your tail of your rein, so the excess split rein, gets tangled, you're allowed to reach down and free it. So when we change directions, the judge generally calls that reverse. It does not mean you're supposed to back up. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to go over what we're going to do to change direction or reverse. So first the rider comes in, they walk, jog, extended jog, lope, change direction or reverse, do the same thing the other way. So the rider actually comes towards the inside of the ring, away from the rail, and then turns back towards the rail. And they're going to stop and wait for the direction. Unless the announcer has said, reverse, and walk on. So if the announcer says, reverse your horses, please, you are going to reverse and stop because you've been given no more further direction. So I've got a little video clip here that we're going to look at about what that looks like. So the videographer in this video didn't focus on just one horse. So we'll see the first half with this bay horse here, and then another horse is going to finish it off to the left here. So they're on the left rein, and they're walking. And then they're going to call for a reverse, and that horse is going to come out towards us and head back to the rail. So they kind of make, I call it the ice cream cone shape. So in a class, you can be asked to either reverse at the walk or jog, generally, in a Western pleasure class. All right, let's get riding.